Hello, and welcome to the special edition of the Greek God Weekly Show. Today we have some special guests. Here with us we have Odysseus and all of his acquaintances that he met on his journey. The first guest we have is the goddess of wisdom, who helped tremendously along the journey, Athena. Welcome, Athena. Glad you can make it to the show today.
Thank you. I am glad that I've been asked to be on your show today.
So, Athena, you are pretty closely acquainted with Odysseus, is that right?
Yes, I am. The Battle of Troy was where we became very close friends. We both became friends on the way home from the battle, but we lost in touch after a while.
Well, that's good to know. Thanks for joining us. Thank you.
Hello, and thank you for tuning in on our show. After an exciting interview with Athena, I am here with her fellow god, Poseidon. Hello, Poseidon.
Hello, thank you for having me on your show.
Tell me about your hatred towards Odysseus.
He ventured on my Cyclops son's island where they then took some of his food, so he got mad and ate some of them. So then they stabbed him in his eye with a heated piece of timber.
Ouch, sounds painful. Is he blind for good?
Yes, he got stabbed in the eye. I did everything that I could to not let Odysseus get home.
Well, that wraps it up for Poseidon. Thank you, Poseidon.
Alright, welcome back to the show. Last time we talked about Poseidon stabbing the Cyclops. Now we're going to talk about the adventures of the sea with Odysseus himself. So, how did you get through all of those harsh winds?
Well, it was a difficult time. I gave my men the order to open the bag, only to find out there were huge blasts of wind that blasted us out to the sea.
That must have been a very difficult time to get past all the harsh seas, and just to keep the ship from breaking apart.
Yes, indeed it was. All my men were frantically trying to keep the ship from falling apart at the heart of the sea. Everyone worked long hours of the day to keep things moving.
I bet. So, after what all has happened, how do you feel about Aelus, the god of the winds?
Right now, I don't like him at all for what he had done to us. What he did was horrible and should never happen again. I was furious with what he had done to us.
Yes, I agree with everything you said.
The next adventure that has to be the most adventurous would have to be Circe's island. Let's hear the story of Odysseus.
Circe had been very mean, giving my men drugs to make them turn into pigs.
How do you stay protected from those drugs?
Well, I had a lot of help from Hermes. He was the one who helped me from turning into a pig. He gave me a special herb called moly that didn't turn me into a pig.
Oh, how great. He must have been a great guy.
Yes, indeed. He had helped me a lot throughout my adventures. Next person Odysseus met on his journey was the prophet Tiresias.
Odysseus came to me for help on how to get home. But when he came to me, he found his mother that had committed suicide. He was devastated on what had happened. He loved his mother so much.
I am so sorry to hear about that. That must have been a tragic experience for both of you.
It was a hard time for everyone that knew her.
Alright, thanks for joining us on this special talk.
Welcome back to the special edition. We are now having a very special guest who is a siren. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so what is your role on the island?
Well, you see, all of us Sirenses are singing to lure people to our island.
Do you lure a lot of people to the island?
Yes, we do. Odysseus and his men were only a few men who got past the island without being lured in.
How did Odysseus and his crew get past the island?
We believe that he had something blocking all of their ears, something like beeswax.
Oh, I see. That sounds pretty interesting / frustrating to you.
It was. Odysseus outsmarted us, and that shouldn't have happened.
Alright, that wraps up our interview with one of the sirens. Thank you.
We're back with the hero himself, Odysseus. So tell us about your experience with Scylla.
The monster was crazy. It was a sea serpent with 6 heads. I've never seen something like that before.
Wow, it seems really crazy. So what made you go towards Scylla instead of Tripodus?
I saw that there was a huge whirlpool over by Charybdis. It could have easily taken out my ship. I didn't want to take the risk of losing our whole ship. I'd rather lose some men than the whole ship.
Hello, welcome back to the show. Today we'll be interviewing Helios, the sun god. So we heard that you were mad at Odysseus and his men just like Poseidon was.
I was outraged at Odysseus.
Why?
Well, you see, Odysseus had fallen asleep while he was sleeping. His men went against what he had said and ate my cattle.
Oh my goodness, that sounds horrible.
It was the worst, and I threatened Odysseus, and with the help of my fellow god Zeus, Odysseus lost all his men when Zeus threw a lightning bolt at his ship.
it's always a good thing to have other gods helping you out. Thanks again, Helios, for the great story you shared.
The next person we're visiting with is a very significant person. She's a nymph named Calypso. She had a very special relationship with our hero Odysseus. Hello, Calypso.
Hello, thanks for having me.
So, would you like to tell us how you know Odysseus?
I fell for Odysseus and wanted him to make my immoral husband and gave him eternal youth. But Odysseus didn't accept my generosity, and he was dreaming about going back to Ithaca and his wife. I was so much in love for him, but despite of his refusal of my offers, I kept hoping and seducing Odysseus. Eventually, I made him her lover.
And when did you guys part your ways?
Well, Zeus sent a messenger god, Hermes, to break us apart, and no one can resist the power of Zeus. We were separated for 7 years together, but I did help him build a ship to go back to Ithaca and sent plenty of food and wine.
Sounds like you two had a very special relationship. Well, thank you for joining us today and telling your story.
Thank you.
Our next guest is Odysseus. He'll be talking about how he got accepted by Phaeacians. So, Odysseus, how did it feel to get accepted by Phaeacians?
It felt good to finally get accepted somewhere.
So, while you guys were eating, what did you eat while you were explaining to them your 10-year journey?
We had all sorts of different food, like mashed potatoes, corn, bread, turkey, ham, and a bunch of other food I can't even explain.
Were you thankful to be able to ride home with the Phaeacians?
I was very thankful to get a ride home. Otherwise, it would have been a long walk home.
This is our last guest of our special Odysseus edition of the Greek God Weekly Show. Our final guest of the show tonight is Penelope.
Thank you so much for having me as a special guest.
Have you ever had a lot of connections with all the gods and goddesses?
I have had many encounters with all the gods and goddesses. Some of them have been bad, but most of them have been great. They have all taught me different life lessons. It had been a crazy adventure, and I'm glad to have my husband Odysseus home again.
It sounds like you have had a great experience. Well, that wraps it up, folks. Tune in next weekend to see all the different sides of the gods.
You need to,
Otherwise,
Go. I'm recording. See?
No.
this is our last guest of our special Odyssey edition.
Which one? See, is that it?
My wallet. Our next guest is Odysseus. He'll be talking about how he got accepted by Phaeacians.